you make a song, right, and I make a beat for you, and we have on contract as long as if you sell 1,500 copies of the song, you know it's okay. But as soon as you sell 1,501, we have to restructure this contract, or else I own that song now.
What?
Yeah.
Now I already know what you're thinking. Where can I get the merch? I'm glad you asked. You can find it at toostubborntofail.com. That's toostubborntofail.com. All right, now let's get back to the show. Welcome back to the Too Stubborn to Fail podcast. We got a real special guest in the building today. He's a recording artist, a producer, a dope content creator, and a real good friend of mine, Troop DZA.
So
How you feeling?
Good, man. How you feeling?
Man, I'm excited.
Hey, I'm excited to be here, man.
We go way back. So that's actually the first thing I want to touch on is the mindset from when we was kids to now. Like, did you ever think that we'd be here creating content right now?
No. I mean, yes, but on the scale, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's way different than how we actually imagine it. Like we used to play Madden together.
Mm-hmm.
We played football together. So it's like it's certain things. It's like when you're a kid, you just think of things on a smaller level. But to the point that we are now, I salute it, man, and that's why I wanted to be a part of this. And I salute everything you're doing, man, because I know what it takes.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, when I had the idea, like you was one of the first people I thought of.
I appreciate it.
And man. It's like I have to commend you on the fact that even back then, like you were still doing music. So you know, for you to be doing it for that long, that means that it was a passion for you.
Man, it was my love, man.
Yeah.
You know, I was in concert band with Mr. Wilkes, and it was I think it was Mr. Warren I had at Sims. But I just always loved music, man. I love football too, but music was something I loved more because I could express myself. You know, football was just more like a discipline thing for me. I loved it, you know, but it taught me more about being disciplined and different things like that and how to work as a team versus music. It's just different parts, like the creative parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The part that I really wanted to grow. You know? So
yeah, it's dope. Yeah. So as far as being an artist, like where did the name come from? How'd you figure out how you was gonna go by Troop?
So well, Troop is just like a nickname. Mm-hmm. Like you know, when I was growing up, well, my uncle called me Duke for the longest, and he still called me that. Mm-hmm. But I had a couple of homies that called me Troop. But man, you know, as an artist, you have different names. Mm-hmm. You know, so like. I'm not as bad as Puff Daddy, like P Diddy, Puff Daddy, Diddy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was Troop the Phenom because the Phenom was supposed to be like, you know, somebody that was extremely good at what they do, like a phenom. You know what I mean? And I hate using the definition of a word to describe it.
Right.
But I was Troop the Phenom. I was Troop Dillinger because I was obsessed with John Dillinger after watching Public Enemies, and I was like, I want to be Troop Dillinger because of what he represented. Yeah. And I was like, nah. But Troop DZA, it's just like I feel like that's really because I always wanted to have like that solid name. Yeah. You know what I mean? And DZA is just like that higher level, that next level, and I feel like that's just that final form. You know, as far as creativity. And listening to Wu-Tang, you know what I mean? Like different things.
I thought that had something to do with it, but we never had that conversation to find out.
Man, I remember I told one of my old partners I used to record with, I was like, hey man, I think I'm gonna change my name to Troop DZA. Yeah. And they laughed. They was like, man, you tripping. But to me, I was like, man, I just want to go by that because I feel like that's a better name. And all the best music I've had has been as DZA, in my opinion, you know. So I just wanted to stick with that.
Okay. I always wanted that.
Yeah.
But as far as like the music industry, you know I couldn't have you come on here and not talk about the business side of that.
Yeah. So it's a lot that I learned. But I'll just touch on like one of the surface thing that I learned last year. You know, we were talking about off camera about how I was learning about how to own music.
Mm-hmm.
So last year I learned that the music business is a business, and you have to have paperwork on your songs.
Right.
So you make a song, right, and I make a beat for you, and we have on contract, as long as if you sell 1,500 copies of the song,
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. But as soon as you sell 1,501,
Yeah.
we have to restructure this contract, or else I own that song now.
What?
Yeah, until you restructure the contract, yes. And some producers don't know that, but it's all just different things. If we go to the studio, and if I bought the exclusive rights to the beat,
Mm-hmm.
and I pay for our studio session, I own the song no matter if you recorded on it or not. You will get your writing credits, but it's up to you to have your publishing. It's up to you to go and get your mechanical royalties and all that. But I still own the record because I did the paperwork. And that's how they get people. That's how labels get. And we had another conversation where I said that I was trying to inform artists about what's going on and what happens when people have access to your music and what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody was like, "So who cares?"
Yeah.
But that's the issue. It's like when you try to inform people, they don't listen.
Yeah.
And when you try to tell them like, "Hey, this is happening right now," or "Hey, this is why you don't own your music. This is why you make 15 cents on a dollar."
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that, and they just think, well, I'm still making money, but it's like you can make so much more. It's like it's 100% piece of a pie, and you getting 15%, but you're saying, oh yeah, I'm still making money though.
Yeah.
Well, where's the other 85%? Like go get your money, but they don't listen.
How long did it take you to figure that process out?
When I bought this book called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business.
Mm-hmm.
And even in that book, it's still not everything that you need to know, because it's different volumes. So it's been from the beginning, like in the 50s or the 60s, how they structured deals then, even in the 2000s. And this is a interesting thing I learned. In the 2000s, they were still giving artists deals structured around the 80s and the 90s terminology.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we had iPods, Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, whatever, in their contracts, it was still mentioning cassettes, 8 tracks, and stuff like that, because they're not looking at
just copy and paste.
Yeah, and the lawyers tell them, well, this is the average deal. This is what the average person gets. So they're like, okay, cool. But that's what we have to. I feel like we have to find a way to stop that, because it's the reason why we hear all these horror stories about artists, and then we have artists, when they actually get free, they go away.
Yeah.
And they don't, like Lauryn Hill. When she figured out what happened, she went away. She can come back now when she wants. But if she wants to be on a major scale, I'm sure she has to sign another deal.
Yeah. And then the crazy thing is, like, a lot of popular artists back in the day, they really wasn't making no money like that. And it's like, even though they was all over the radio, videos on MTV, BET, everywhere, they still wasn't making the kind of money that we thought they was making just because we saw their face.
Man, we know the story about TLC.
Mm-hmm.
TLC sold 10 million records, and they were still living with their mama.
Yeah.
They barely had enough to buy each one of them a car. You know, after selling 10 million records, y'all have $100,000 left, and it's 3 of y'all.
That's crazy.
And
that's all because they didn't know the business side.
They didn't know. And man, they can do anything, man. They can, and I keep saying they, but the people that are in charge of their finances, the people that are in charge of what the deal that they sign, man. And sometimes I speak on people's deals, and like I said, when I speak on it, people they'll say so, or they'll say, well, what can we do about it? But it's just about having leverage, and that's something that I learned. If I'm putting money into buying posters and buying flyers and buying gear and buying all this stuff to promote myself, why would I want you to swoop in and take over what I've been doing for 5 years? And then somebody will say, well, you talking about owning pennies over somebody having millions. but they have millions, but it's not theirs. Versus me getting millions or me attempting to get millions and that pile on top of more millions, and I'm able to help more people because I found a way out of the matrix. You know,
Brandon.
you know.
Brandon. So how important would you say it is for you to be instrumental in your own branding?
Very. I feel like it's very important. Um, you don't if I don't smoke cigarettes, so I wouldn't want to be doing ads for cigarette companies.
Right.
You know, but some people back in the 80s they did it anyways. In the 90s they did it. You know, if you look at it in the 70s, they had cigarette commercials and people were walking around smiling and everything because it was just a way of branding them and getting to another level. You know what I mean? And but it's really important because you don't want people to judge you in a way that's not you.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want people to say, "Oh, I know, Too Stubborn to Fail isn't gonna be good because he acts like this on this commercial."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's it. That's not what I want to do, and I want to be able to brand myself and make people see me in the light because I'm a father too. You know, so it's certain things that I think about. I'm like even when I curse on songs, if my son hears it, he's like, "Daddy, why you cursing?" You know what I mean? So it's like certain things now that it's changed me and it's making me pay attention to, and I want to have control over that part.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's a small part of my pie, I want that part, and I want to be able to control it. You know.
And another thing, I think when it comes to your brand, it's so important to keep your core values in mind. Like you talk about you being a father, or we hear it all the time where certain actors refuse to put the dress on.
Yeah.
And it's so important that you keep those core values intact because it's certain things that is on your list. These is not what I'm going to do. I'm never going to do X.
Yeah.
That's not my brand. That's not who I am. I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much money you give me. You can't pay me to do it. So what kind of tips would you have for somebody starting out and, kind of when it comes to starting their brand?
Yeah. When it comes to starting your brand, I think it's important to know your end goal, and to know what you actually wanna do with your brand. Actually know what a brand is. I remember I was trying to get this lady to help me, and I was like, man, I had to be like 24, and I messaged her. I said, hey, I need help building my brand. I need help doing this different stuff, just elevating. She was like, well, what is your brand? And I was like, it's me. I'm the brand, And she was like, no, but you got to understand, like, who you are and what audience that you want to aim for. Like you don't want to put too much effort into this audience, and that audience isn't your crowd.
Right.
You want to make sure that you know who you are and what you're aiming for. It's this book I read called Essentialism. I forget the author, but it's a quote. He says, "When people are unaware of the end game, they don't know the end goal. They don't know which way to aim." And I put that in my notes, man, and I read it every day because it's like you have to be aware, even if it's just you waking up, you getting in the car, and you're like, man, where do I need to go? I need to go get gas. You need to be aware of what you're doing. You need to be aware of why you're doing it. Your why, make sure you have a why. Because at any point, you could just say, I don't want to do this anymore. But your why has to be the reason why you keep going.
Yeah.
So it's real easy to quit, man. And I think we were talking about, I don't know if this was on camera, but we were talking about, people when they criticize artists or creatives and, they say certain things about you and they would try to make you feel bad about a product that you made. But when you are aware of who you are and where you're trying to go, you just have to have that mindset, that tunnel vision. You can't let anybody throw you off because if they do, it will continue to happen every time you try to do something.
I switched sides on you. Why you ain't go to the site yet? TooStubbornToFail.com. That's TooStubbornToFail.com. Go check it out. And just like you said, putting in that consistency matters. Like it's working on your craft on a daily basis you get to a point where nobody else's opinion really does matter, because really all you have to do is create, and your audience really will find you.
Yeah.
It's some people out there that think you dope. They just don't know who you are yet.
Yeah.
And once they hear you for their first time, they're a fan for life.
Man, it's people. You know, it's another thing. Too many people rely on the internet too.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had a show. It was a couple weeks ago. Man, I killed it, man. And this guy afterwards, he came up to me. He was like, "Hey, man, you got a CD?"
Yeah.
I was like, "Nah, I ain't got no CDs." He was like, "I was like, but I got Instagram, Twitter. You know, I'm giving him the little rundown.
Yeah.
How we, man,
how we communicate, man.
yeah." And it's so weird because it's like when people don't have social media, you have to change that whole approach. And it might only be one person per show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, out of the 50 people that you meet, you know, hey, what's up? My name is Troop DZA. This is my YouTube, my Twitter, my website right here. You can get some merch. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, but when I met him, he was like, I don't have all that. He was like, I'm a real person.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't do the internet, so I need a CD. He was like, but I respect what you doing. You know, he was like, I respect what you doing coming out of South Carolina. He was like, keep going.
Yeah.
But that just made me view my brand and how I'm doing stuff, even buying billboards. Mm-hmm. You know, we saw Drake and Kanye did that for their brand, but I want to do that for my project.
Yeah.
I want people to be on 85 in Greenville or wherever it is, and I want to have a blip, and I want them to be able to see, oh, DZA Season 3 is out right now, mm-hmm. because that's a different level of brand, and that's something that they might not be able to see on Facebook, mm-hmm. but they might be stuck in 85 or might just be looking at a billboard.
And just look you up.
Yeah.
Boom, you got a fan.
Yeah. You know, and my logic, you know, we've seen people talk about stuff like this, but if you have 1,000 people that really follow you and they spend $100 per year each, that's $100,000 that you made off 1,000 people. You know, and a lot of people that will say, "Oh, you know, I got this amount of followers," but all you need is 1,000 or 10,000 real followers, mm-hmm. and that will put you on another level.
Yeah.
You know, and $100 that's nothing for a real person that's rocking with you to actually spend. You know, it doesn't matter if it's a show, pop-up shop, anything, but you got to just understand your brand and understand what you're trying to do with it.
Man, it's just. Speaking to like the monetization piece,
yeah,
you can have a big following, but if you're not monetizing that following, then does it really matter?
No, no, not at all.
Because you know you can have dope content, and like, the goal. Let's not trick the people. Mm-hmm. The goal is to monetize your brand.
Yeah,
I don't care who you are. Now you may have another motive to motivate, inspire, teach.
Yeah.
But the main goal is to monetize this thing.
For sure. That's always the main goal.
Yeah. So can you speak to some of the ways that you are able to monetize?
As far as like the artist side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. So like when you're an artist, it could be anything. So I got with this guy on Instagram. And I made it a point at the beginning of the year. I had a bunch of different goals. And one of them was I want to make Troop DZA, the actual Troop DZA, like the logo and everything. I said I wanted to make one, mm-hmm. and I wanted to make it to the point where if people just wore it like on a patch, on a shirt, somebody would be like, hey, man, that symbol is dope. You know, like it's like the polo symbol.
Right.
You know, so I said I wanted to make that. So, you know, I got with the guy we made. He made the designs. He sent me a few of them, and I decided on the last one because I wanted it to be, like I said, a logo that could be like a patch, or like if it's just like my kids say it looks like a superhero symbol. Mm. So it's like even if it was just like the Batman symbol in the sky or something like that, TD is clean. Yeah. You know, it's clean and it's cut. So, but I say that to say you can make that the merch. Mm-hmm. When you make your project. You know, vinyl is coming back around. Mm-hmm. And this is just free game from what I'm doing right now. Like, we already talked about the book. Mm-hmm. But vinyl is coming back around. You know, like, you go on Barnes & Nobles, you see they got all of these vinyl albums. But instead of putting your album on Apple Music, that's fine. Mm-hmm. But actually have physical copies of your album, mm-hmm. like a vinyl. And man, you could charge $25 for a vinyl, like a collector's issue. You know,
I never even thought of that.
yeah, but that's what I'm doing right now. I like this whole process. And there's people that's in my circle. We've been talking about it. My friend Matt Vanderford, we've been talking about it for months now. Because, and even just the rollout of actually having vinyl copies. And maybe if it's people having pop-up shops as an artist, you're charging $25 to $30 for a vinyl copy of your album, and then you're selling 100 of them. Like, it might cost you $800 to get 100 pressed up with the cover and everything.
Right.
But if you actually say you spend $200 getting a front and a back cover of an album made, and this is hypothetically speaking, like sometimes I make them on my phone, you know, but you could put that in, you spend $800 to buy 100 copies of a vinyl. You selling them $30 a piece. And you got 100. That's $3,000.
Right.
That means you profited $2,000 off of your music in a time period where you got to sell. Well, you got to get 1 million streams on Spotify to make $4,000.
That's crazy.
That's insane.
That's crazy. using the old method.
Yeah, they trick you, man. And it's like everybody wants to be an artist now, but you know, we talked about, you know, back in the 90s, we saw where artists were everywhere and they were broke.
Yep.
Now artists are everywhere on our phones and they're broke. Like, everybody is an artist, but nobody knows how to make money off of it. Because they're like, oh, my song is on Spotify, and then people are excited about the monthly listeners, which isn't real, you know. All of it, it's just an algorithm. It's just something to get you locked in to Spotify, so that they can make money, so that they can monetize. Everything is all about making money. Apple Music is all about making money. There's no way why you can listen to my whole album versus buying it, and you listen to it on Apple Music, and I don't even make $1.
That's crazy.
That's insane. You know, but it's like, that's why you have to know other ways around it. You have to be able to sell. You have to be able to, if you're an artist, have a website, put your music on your website, sell your music, physical copies, sell merch. Like, if you got quotes from songs, like I haven't did it yet, but I always wanted to make a shirt that said "Ain't No Pressure," because ain't no pressure to go on anything, and it's a song, you know. So it's just like, it's like if you have certain bars that is just like universal, put that together, make that a shirt, make that a brand. You know, you can branch out in certain ways, but that old way of just I'm just making music, I'm a dope artist, that's there. Nah, you can't do that. You know, and I used to do that, man. Like, when I went to Charleston Southern, I used to sit in my room and write bars and go at 26 and go back home and record. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm the hardest rapper. But I didn't know anything about the business. Somebody could have got me then and been like, yo, sign this. And I would have signed it. And they could have been like, yo, I'm going to give you $100,000. But you under my control for the next 20 years.
And that would have been a wrap.
Yeah. I would have, I would have been like, man, this is dirty. You know, somebody did me wrong. But, you know, it's just certain things that you got to learn when you're trying to build yourself, when you're trying to go to certain places, man. You got to know. You have to be aware. You know what I mean? Because if you're not, there are snakes in every business, and they're trying to make money.
You got to study the game.
Come on,
just
man.
Be a student of it.
Come on, man. Like, it's way too many artists. And I don't want to say what I want to, you know, but it's way too many artists, especially in hip hop. Yeah, I'm gonna say it, man. Hip hop is dominated by young black men. Young black men. And it doesn't matter if they're in prison or if they're in hip hop, they're getting taken advantage of. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, you got people in prison that's working for nothing, you know, and they're working for pennies, but it's because of the 13th Amendment, and that's something else. But then you have hip hop, and you have kids that's in hip hop, and they're working for pennies. But it's not because of the 13th Amendment, it's because they don't know. You know, and the people that are in control, you know, they're making money off of them. They're telling them to rap about certain things in order to get that attention to them. It's all a game, but it's just about you knowing what's happening and knowing how to move. You know, if not, you will be on the shelf. You know, you will be a tax write-off for a label. They will give you $100,000 just for you to leave.
Yeah.
And you still have to pay taxes on that 100,000. So,
So it ain't even the whole 100.
no.
So, as a creative, how important is it to act on the idea once it's in your head?
For me, very important because I don't want to forget.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whenever I have a thought, man, even when I'm making songs, you know, everybody got a phone, so I might just pull out my phone and be like, Siri, open up my voice memos. Yeah. And if even if it's just a melody, like it's a melody, I don't have the words yet, I'll record the melody. That way, when I get home or something later, it's like, okay, what was I going with this? Let me find the words.
Yeah.
It's like how Rain Man. I don't know if you ever watched Rain Man, but you know, like he counts the cards and stuff. You know, that's. And I'm not saying I'm Rain Man, but it's like when you making music, it's like I listen to different melodies, and it's like, okay, I have this melody on the song. Let me find the words to go with that, and that all comes from knowing in that moment.
Right.
You know, and we talked about since COVID happened. I've been recording at home. Not a lot, but you know, I do it. And it's because I can record myself at home and I know exactly how I want the song to go. That way, if I have to send it to my engineers at Speak Life, I could just say, hey, I recorded this at home. I like this tape. Let's see if we can make the vocals up. And I mean, you know, they do their thing with mixing and mastering, but sometimes you have to bring the vocals up and bring the beat out so that it can be really in the pocket. And you have to know when you're recording, you have to know exactly what you want to do. When those ideas for songs come to you, make sure that you get it out. Or if it's for a shirt, get it out.
Right.
You know, because it's a lot of times when we have ideas about stuff, man, this is and this is the bad thing about social media. You get on Facebook and it says what's on your mind. You go type you like, oh, I'm about to drop new shirts. And I used to do this. That's why I had to learn. I'm about to drop new shirts. I'm about to do this. I'm about to take over. You know, you talk, but you never put the action in.
Right.
And you feel like it's action because people are in the comments and they're like, yeah, do that, man. Yeah, like I'm with you. But it's still up to you to put in that work and actually make it happen.
Man.
You know?
I can attest to that because as far as Too Stubborn to Fail is concerned, I created the name years ago and never acted on it.
I remember.
Yeah, years ago. And then, you know, it took the pandemic to slow me down. I reevaluated some stuff, and then I actually finally made it an LLC last year. And even from that point, I didn't do the branding as far as the merch and the website until like October. So when it comes to acting on the idea, you're right. You got to do it ASAP.
Yeah. But
the other thing that I wanted to touch on in this interview was, you know, with all of your success that you have now, somebody might see you and say that you're an overnight success. But is there really such thing as an overnight success?
No, not in my eyes. Man, I've been doing this so long, man. Okay, this is 2021. This about to be 2022. Man, I opened up for Yo Gotti when he had 5-Star Chick in 2009. And I think I was like 18 or 19. So it's people that saw me back then, and they might see me now, and they be like, man, he got to be like 40. And I'm not. Right. You know what I mean? But it's like, man, I was a kid back then. I went through and I learned everything. And I'm glad because I feel like now, the position I'm in, the stuff that I know, I can help people that's coming after me too. Right. I feel like I could be the one that kicks down the door, and I'm bringing everybody else through. You know, and I'm not saying like I'm gonna be the one out of South Carolina, but I'm speaking on the knowing. Now I don't want to just be somebody that's silent. Right. You know, like I want to be somebody, and then it's like, man, he turned into a mogul because he knew what happened. He didn't let the people play him, and that's what I don't want to do, and I see it happen too much, and I hate it because you know we have artists, man. It's crazy that they all do the same trick play now. When they come out, they talk about their deals.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to give you 3 examples. Meek Mill, he started talking about his record deal when his album was about to come out. Megan Thee Stallion, she started talking about her record deal when her album was about to come out. Summer Walker, they ran a media press about her when her album came out. All of these people are big stars, but they're complaining about their contracts. And it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's like nobody is even trying to change it. Nobody is even trying to do anything, but it's like people like me, I've been around for a while, man. And it's like as a teenager, you know, I used to listen to these guys, and I thought everything was real,
right?
You know, like and rap, the music, especially rap, it's like WWE, you know. But it's like Vince McMahon runs the WWE, you know. Triple H was a wrestler, but of course he learned the business side, and he got, you know, whatever he could as far as on the other side of it. But it's like you just have to know, like you cannot just be a worker in it.
Yeah.
You know, like we do it so that we can not be a worker, not have jobs. You know, you don't do it so that you become an artist and then you still working,
right,
and you going on tour when you 70 because you can't make money no other way. Like that's just not what I want to do.
That's a horror story.
The Temptations, they toured forever. You know?
Yeah.
But the thing about it, they had a movie. We knew about them, Motown and all this stuff. But I guarantee you their contracts were bad.
Yeah.
But it's because they wanted to be put out there more, and they didn't know any other way. So you know, it's a sad story.
It is sad. Man, this has been a dope interview.
Oh yeah.
How I always like to wrap it up is with asking my guests, like, what you may have many, but one in particular that stands out to you, a too stubborn to fail moment for you, a moment that against all odds you still managed to get it done even when it looked like it wasn't going to happen.
I'll say that right now. Right now I'm having a moment where I'm finishing up my project, and it's the first project under my label, New Gen Records LLC, and I'm proud about it. But it was so many roadblocks to finish it. Even now, it's about to come out in 3 weeks. But you're talking about me reaching out to producers, they're not writing back. Me reaching out to producers, and they're just giving me cold shoulders. You know, they'll be like, oh, yeah, we could work, and then we don't. You know, it's all type of issues that you have. But when you have the vision, you have to see it through, man. And nobody else can see your vision except for you. You know, so they may not respect what you're trying to do because they can't see it. But I'm the type of person that I'm gonna make it happen regardless. So, you know, I'm never going to fail. I might stumble, you know, but we can't fail, you know. As long as I'm trying, it's going to happen. Every time.
That's what's up. Man, how can the people find you?
Yeah, so everything is Troop SC. On Twitter, it's Troop SC. Instagram is Troop SC. If you want to listen to the music, it's Troop DZA on Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, wherever music is sold on digital service platforms, and TroopDZA.com and DZASeason.com. You know, so, and YouTube, just Troop DZA, everywhere.
Well, there you have it. This has been a dope episode of Too Stubborn to Fail. I'm your host, Darren Perkins. We had Troop DZA in the building today, and we're signing out.